Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up. So, Frank, I have a question for you, and I need to probably preface it with some context because the way I say it may or may not register. You may be like, what the hell are you talking about? All right, so here's the thing. What I am interested in knowing is what artists do you avoid listening to for non-musical reasons? So let me take an extreme for you.
Okay.
There are a lot of people out there who at one point in time stopped listening to R. Kelly for obvious non-musical reasons. R. Kelly got accused of doing some pretty bad stuff, got convicted of it, it's in jail, repeated whatevers. Anyway, that's kind of what I'm going for.
Mm-hmm.
I have an example, though, and it's relevant to our space and our guests and the people we talk about. Because I got on Facebook not long ago, and this was about the time that the Country Never Dies album came out with the first big record label studio recording from the Creekers. They did a cover of Keith Whitley's Kentucky Bluebird on that album. We've probably heard it and talked about it and whatnot. If you haven't heard it by now, go Spotify it or whatever. At any rate, that album, Country Never Dies, I think is kind of like spearheaded by Gavin Adcock.
Okay.
And so I log into Facebook, and Tanner Horton, who from the Creekers, who's been on our show and is a friend of the program, he's posted something on Facebook, and he says something about, well, we're real excited the album is coming out, but he said, I've been reading the comments, and I just don't understand why people out there are hating on Gavin Adcock. And because they're on the same album, I know the Creekers are actually going to open for Gavin Adcock a few times this year on their tour. I think they're label mates, so it makes sense, even if Tanner, and I don't think Tanner actually, has a lot of, I don't think he is motivated by what I'm about to say, might be influencing this. I don't think Tanner is, but it makes perfect sense for Tanner to come to Gavin's defense because they're on this album. They're promoting this album together. The Creekers are going to be opening up for Gavin Adcock. So there's a friendship there. They might even be on the same label. So there might even be someone telling Tanner he should say that. I don't think that's going on because Tanner's way too, dyed-in-the-wool, real, straightforward person. But anyway, I read that and I thought, okay, my suspicion is Tanner doesn't know why people would dislike Gavin Adcock because it doesn't really have anything to do with his music, I don't think.
Okay.
I think people don't like Gavin Adcock because Gavin Adcock picks on other artists proactively for no reason. Like he'll be in an interview and he called Charlie Crockett very famously a cosplay cowboy.
Mm.
And he's picked on, Zach Bryan for one thing or another, although Zach Bryan probably, eggs him on a little bit. He's called out people and said they're not real country as if he is. And I have always understood him to be, and I'll preface this by saying, I don't listen to Gavin Adcock, so I couldn't tell you one of his songs. But he comes across to me as being one of the Nashville machine commercial country, which means there's probably some pop and some auto-tune and some beat machines in there that make it not the kind of country I want to listen to. So anyway, I can see why Tanner would do that for reasons that Tanner probably isn't doing it. But I think it's just Tanner just doesn't understand Gavin Adcock's history. And so I kind of commented, I jumped in and said, hey, I see where, I don't disagree. I don't know Gavin Adcock's music. But I know what Gavin Adcock has done. I've seen his behavior relevant to criticizing other artists. So that might be where some of this is coming from. I was, trying to be kind of neutral in the conversation and just make sure that, Tanner heard from someone that this might be why people don't like Gavin Adcock. Just so you know, in case you don't know. Long story short, I thought it would be interesting to discuss, are there other artists out there that we might not listen to for reasons other than their music. Because again, I've never heard a Gavin Adcock song. I don't listen to it because he kind of comes across as a prick.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I just don't want to listen to a prick sing songs. So, or someone I think is a prick sing songs. In all fairness to Gavin, I don't know Gavin Adcock's music. So
Right.
I'm trying to be fair about this, but I'm just not interested in him.
Right.
So, do you have any that might fall into that kind of category?
Whew. Well, this won't surprise you, but the first person that comes to mind is Morgan Wallen. And, you know, I hadn't heard any of his music. And I don't know. Well, no, I have then, and involuntarily I've heard his music. But like I hadn't really heard anything from him before the stories of him being a scumbag were, making the rounds. Just the racist language he's used, and you know, throwing chairs off of roofs and stuff like that. Like, yeah, okay, everybody wants to live the rock and roll lifestyle, and I get that, and people are going to do dumb stuff when they're drunk, but it doesn't excuse the behavior. I take that all into consideration. He just comes off as a real scumbag, and, then involuntarily, I have heard his music, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm clearly not missing anything," you know? So he would be number 1,
Okay.
and then, my next answer is, a little, let's see, fueled by information that we learned just recently when we were in Seymour, Indiana, for the Crossroads Acoustic Music Festival. And who is from the town of Seymour, Indiana?
That'll be John Cougar Mellencamp.
Or Johnny Cougar, as he used to go
Johnny
by.
Cougar, as he. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So I have never really been a fan of his music, even in the 80s when everybody was listening to Johnny Cougar and John Mellencamp and whatever the hell he was calling himself. Okay. So yeah, like I don't get into it anyway. And then last weekend in Seymour, hearing people who are from the town who know him and his family and this and that, and hearing some of the stuff that he's pulled, it like kind of a smack in the face to the people of Seymour. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of shitty, you know? And I'm like, okay, then I don't feel bad that I don't like his music because now I don't like him.
Well, and
Um,
let me do a quick impersonation of anyone from Seymour, Indiana, the first time you meet them. This is my impersonation. Ready? Here we go.
I'm ready.
Oh, welcome to Seymour. Yeah, yeah. You like John Mellencamp? Oh, yeah, cool. He's a prick.
Accurate. So
was
yeah.
easy.
So there you go. Those are my two. The first ones that popped into my mind.
Okay. I have Morgan Wallen on my list as well. The whole thing I have with Morgan, well, there's two problems I have with Morgan Wallen. One, the racist stuff was my first indication of you're not going to like this guy no matter how good his music is.
Right.
Um, I'm going to circle back to another point on that in just a minute. The other problem I have with Morgan Wallen is the 3 or 4 songs that I have heard. I've gone to listen to certain songs because, oh, it's been number 1 for 18 weeks. What the hell? And I'll go listen to it. He very much fits into what I call pop country.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it's very much the auto tune and the beatbox in the background, and it's synthesized. It just doesn't come across as really authentic country music to me.
Not at all.
It's made for a different audience. It's made for a different generation. It's made for a more pop dance audience to be more mainstream. I get it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not my kind of music. So that's the other thing that I have about Morgan Wallen. So he's on my list too. I'm starting to dislike Zach Bryan a lot more than I used to.
Okay.
I do listen to his music though. I've got a few things on a couple playlists that I'm not going to go out and buy his records.
Right.
I don't like him that much. But I do like his songwriting. So but he's starting to hit the antics with him and Gavin Adcock and, other people that he gets into arguments with and whatnot. I'm like, why bring attention to yourself for being a jerk? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting tired of him. I also I'm not going to mention names on this one because I think it's an unfair reason to not necessarily like someone.
Okay.
But I went to a show not too long ago where I was really excited to meet this performer. And performer one, and then there was another show a few months later. I was really excited to meet performer two. Performer one was so high or drunk during their performance that I was immediately turned off. I'm like, if you don't respect the people who come out to pay to, hear you sing your songs, and this happened to be a listening room configuration. This wasn't a big concert. This was like 40 or 50 people who had paid to get an intimate moment with this person, and they were drunk off their ass to the point where they'd get 2 or 3 lines into a song and start giggling and go, "I'm not playing that. That's stupid." And I was just like, "Oh, this is who you are? Okay. Well, you're now on my shit list."
Yeah.
Now, the reason that I think I might be a little unreasonable about that is because we're all entitled to a bad night, And when
Of
you're
course.
traveling as much as these folks are, and you're away from your family, and you're alone, and you've got nothing but time to kill before the show, shit like that happens. I get it. And so I'm like, I need to reserve judgment a little bit more before I just come out and say, screw that artist. I don't want to have anything to do with them. The other one that I was like, I'm really excited to see this guy play and meet him and all this kind of stuff. And as soon as I came into his presence, I was backstage at an event, and he is a festival, and he shows up, and there was this chill that came over the whole backstage place. This guy just reeks bully and reeks asshole. And just, he walks around with an attitude like he owns the joint, and he's real friendly with the artists, but anybody else was, I don't talk to you. It was really weird. It was a strange vibe. And you don't see that very much anymore. It's very, very few times can I count in the last 10, 15 years I've ever been somewhere. And I worked in college athletics where egos abound. But it's very seldom I've been in a room where a guy walks in and everybody's just automatically turned off. Just like, creep. So, and again, I'm not going to name names because again, it was my one experience with this guy. I don't know that it's fair. Maybe he was just feeling standoffish that day. So I'm reserving judgment for him as well. But those are the kind of people I'm like, I'm not buying your records. I'm probably going to skip you on Sirius Satellite Radio and change channels. I don't want to listen to your shit if you're that kind of person or you come across that way. So,
well, and even, I talked in earlier episodes about how I had a playlist in my classroom where my students would write requests, and I had a little box and they would put them in there. And I can't tell you how many of those little pieces of paper had Morgan Wallen songs on them. And, I would make the playlist on Spotify. And even though the artists get only a couple of pennies per stream, I'm like, nope. He is not. I'm logged into Spotify to play you music, and he is not going to be earning anything off of me. Okay. And so some of my students are like, why don't you like him? And I'm like, he's a scumbag. And, I didn't really want to get into it with a bunch of 8th graders, but there's that. So I took it to the next level. Cause of course I'm not going to buy any of his music and I didn't like it anyway. So, it's not like I'm missing out on something, So yeah, I took it that far.
Sure. Well, and you're entitled to do that. I don't have a problem with it. You do you.
All right, boo.
Now, here's the second part of this conversation that I wanted to have.
Oh,
so
all right.
we told those stories to tell you this story.
All right.
And hence the name Rambler. I want to consider for Gavin Adcock, for Morgan Wallen, for all the people we've mentioned who might be on we don't listen to their music because of something they did other than music, right? For all of those people in our lives and your life, if you're listening or watching and you are playing along at home, I want us to take a moment to step back and offer up a little bit of an opportunity and some thought around the concept of forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the reason I bring this up is because that attitude of not liking an artist because of things they did that were not musically related. Many, many years ago, that's the attitude I had with Oasis. When they came out in the 1990s, I think it
Mhm.
was, the first couple headlines I saw about them were that they think they're bigger than the Beatles, and I saw pictures and these little smug British turds. Like I was like, I don't need that. I don't have space in my life for that
Right.
kind of attitude. I'm not going to listen to Oasis. 10, 15, 20 years go by. Yeah, I've heard a few Oasis songs. They're good songs. I don't necessarily, hate them, but I'm not going to go out and buy their records. I'm not going to go to a concert. So that was my attitude for many, many years
Okay.
about Oasis. And then one day, not long ago, 3 years ago, because I think this happened during the pandemic or close to it.
All right.
There was an artist, a singer-songwriter in Britain, James Bay. Some of you may know who that is. James Bay is on the Zoe Ball Breakfast Show, which is
Okay.
a radio show, I think, in the UK, and they also film it for the BBC or whatever. So James Bay is asked to prepare a cover song to play on this show. Just so happens that the other guest on the Zoe Ball Breakfast Show that morning was Noel Gallagher. And the only song that James Bay prepared for that day was Don't Look Back in Anger, which is Noel Gallagher's song. So James Bay grows the largest set of balls on the planet and plays his own version, a very distinctively different version of Don't Look Back in Anger
Wow.
in front of Noel Gallagher. Now, I tell you that story because there are only a couple. I went back and watched the video to make sure. And there are only a couple of cutaways where you actually see Noel's face while the song is being played. He's got a reaction afterwards and everything, and he really enjoyed it. But I remember Noel Gallagher as being this aloof, arrogant British prick.
Right.
And he's listening to this kid play, and I saw a different human being
Mm.
in his face. Like it was, oh my God, the Gallaghers are human. Like they can feel things. They can have a little humility and recognize, holy shit, this kid's killing my song, like in a good way, right?
Yeah.
And in that instance, I was reminded, maybe there's some room for some forgiveness
Sure.
here, and thinking a little deeper about Oasis and giving them a little bit more of a chance. And since that time, I've done a deeper dive into their catalog and listened to a lot of stuff that I didn't even know they recorded. And they're, of course, back doing concerts now, which is really interesting. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to see them, but I probably would consider going to see them now. And I never would have otherwise had I not
Sure.
seen that look on Noel's face when this kid plays a version of his song. And I was like, there's a human being in there. That makes a big difference.
Not just some shell of a
right.
prick, right?
So if there's a point to this, and I know I'm rambling.
I think there is.
But if there's a point to this, it's, people like Morgan Wallen, people like Gavin Adcock, Zach Bryan, whomever, will do things to make us think, I really don't want to be associated with that. I don't have room in my brain to listen to this kind of shit nonsense from this person. But music is a beautiful thing, and it ties us together. It brings out our emotions. It makes us human. It makes us feel things that we should feel. And so maybe, just maybe, Morgan Wallen's going to walk out on a Tonight Show or something one day and play a cover of a song or play an original song that he wrote. And you're going to go, oh shit, maybe I should have been paying attention to him a little more along the way. Maybe there's room for forgiveness for past behavior if they exhibit, improvement and intent and whatnot over time. I just think we should consider it. That's all.
Okay. I'm all for forgiveness. I mean, I'm Catholic, right? Like that's a main, tenet of the faith. And I love that story though about Oasis and the Gallaghers and when Oasis first got huge in the 90s, I was on that bandwagon, right? Like I was huge. And I got to see them perform here in Chicago. So, I'm glad for that. But then and now I just don't listen to them anymore. When they do come on the radio or on Sirius XM, I switch the channel Not that I don't care for the songs anymore or their music, I just it was so overplayed for so long, and, so, there's that, and then, of course, Wonderwall is, like, the focus of all those memes and jokes and stuff, um, so, yeah, I'm just kinda over it, but, yeah, I like that story a lot.
Thank you. Well, welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
And he's Ramblin' Falls.
and we are definitely rambling today, but
Okay.
we like we typically do through the stories behind the music we love.
Right. And today on this show, we're talking to Jeremy and Della Marshall from the alt country band called Hollerhead. They played the Manchester Music Fest back in September, and it happened to be the one day of the event that Falls could not be there. But they've been on our radar for some time now, and we finally got a chance to catch up with them, with the group's founder and main songwriter, Jeremy Marshall.
And his wife Della, who is in the band and basically runs everything, as
Right, right, right.
we've come to find out. Hollerhead is based in Western Kentucky. Their songs give off a nice blend of Southern rock, real heartfelt storytelling, songwriting, a lot of country and folk influences. They kind of fall into a bunch of different genres, and they call themselves alt country. But as we talk to them in the interview, you'll hear in a few minutes, we talk about more of that Americana label of being a blend of a little bit everything else. Their debut album, Never Gonna Leave You, came out in August of last year. It's quite good. And we're going to ask them and poke a little bit to see if there's something new coming down the tracks. There might be coming down the track there.
You boy, yes. So yes, we'll find out more about Jeremy and Della, the band, their journey, their first album, and a whole lot more. Um, and I think my partner here, Jason Falls, has a bit of a bone to pick because of their name, the name
Yeah.
Hollerhead.
So hollers, it's all in good fun. Okay. It's all in good fun. But Western Kentucky isn't the side of the state you typically find hollers. So I'm confused on this hollerhead name, what it might imply to some. If they're saying they're from a head of a holler, I think that's doubtful. So I'm a little meh.
Mm, okay. All right. Well, for the uninitiated Appalachians out there, like myself, could you explain what that means? Like head, holler,
Okay. All right. So, everybody I think knows what a holler is. It's a valley, basically. You've got, this mountain here and this mountain here, and the thing in between them, that's a holler, right? And the way that the Appalachian Mountains specifically are sort of shaped and whatnot, you've got, one big mountain range, and you've got a bunch of little branches of the mountains that go off that form these hollers. And these hollers are basically carved out from a creek running
Mhm.
from the top of the ridge, coming down the holler to the river where it empties out into and goes off into the other rivers and oceans and all that shit. So when you are settling a holler,
Mhm.
and this goes back to, Conestoga wagon days and shit. When you are settling a holler, if you are at the head of the holler, you are at the top of the mountain where the holler starts.
Mhm.
So as you head down the mountain, you're at the head of the holler. The head
Okay.
is at the top of the mountain.
Makes sense.
When you get down to the bottom where the creek for the holler empties out into the river, you're at the mouth of the holler. The closer you live to the head of the holler in Eastern Kentucky, the more hierarchical you are on the family tree, because the head
Mm,
of the holler is grandma and grandpa,
mm,
grandma and
mm.
papa, and then sons and daughters of theirs, and then sons and daughters of theirs, and sons and daughters of theirs. So there's a little bit of a geographic hierarchy to where your trailer, double
Mm.
wide
Yeah.
house might be in the holler. And
Okay.
I'm not saying that making fun. There's trailers, there's double wides, there's houses, there's all
Right.
sorts of shit up and down the hollers. For a certain period of time, trailers were very popular because they're more economical
Sure.
purchases for the son and daughter or the grandson and granddaughter to buy and start. You
And
also,
then
yeah, go ahead.
do they move up the holler then? Like over time?
Sometimes,
Okay.
if the land is held by the family and stays in the family and isn't sold off, divided up, etc., which there's a lot more sold off and divided up now. It's not the same as it was, 100 years ago
Yeah.
or even 50 years ago. But yeah, if your family owns all the property toward the head of the holler, then as far down as their property line goes, there's grandkids and whatnot. And if mama and papa pass away, then some older child of theirs usually moves up into the big house, because it's usually the bigger house because they've had
Sure.
more years to add on to it and stuff like that. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you. All right.
welcome.
Now I have clarity on that. I'll sleep better tonight. And it will be a fun discussion. And then afterwards, make sure you stick around. We'll do our pick and the grinning segment where Falls and I have our own music recommendations or recommendations for whatever for the week.
That's right. So let's take a quick break to hear from the fine sponsors that make this show tick. When we come back, Jeremy and Della Marshall from Hollerhead join us. This is Roots Music Rambler.
That old tree must really, really hate the lightning. It's been struck 3 times since we moved here. Ain't no life left, Lord, no, it's just hollow. And it's the last friend that I got left. Well, tell me, can you feel that cold wind blow? How far is that graveyard from this road? I don't like to get too far from home. Swore I'd never leave you. Oh, I'm never gonna leave you. Not even if that big
Welcome back to
sun
Roots Music
melts
Rambler. That song is Never Gonna Leave You from Hollerhead. It's the title track off the band's 2025 debut album. The main man behind the band is Jeremy Marshall. The main woman is Della Marshall, and both are right here with us on the big show. How are the Marshalls this evening?
We're good.
We are good.
We couldn't be better. Tired, but we are great.
Busy,
Well,
busy.
those are all good signs. So we've almost crossed paths in the reels a couple times, and I've certainly been following along with all the releases and such, but it's nice to finally meet, even if it's just virtually for the time being. Let's start with a little history and makeup of the band. Jeremy, you are the front-facing person I've always seen for Hollerhead, but take us through the band members and their roles. But let me then put you on the spot and have you list all the things Della does while Della makes sure you don't forget any of them.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
She does a lot. Yeah. So Della Marie is my wife. She sings backup with me and helps write. And there's Tim Green on the bass guitar. Derek Terry plays the guitar, the banjo. He does a little bit of everything, but he's mostly the lead guitar. On that album, the Never Gonna Leave You album, was Trey Rudd, a great friend of ours who's kind of a half-time drummer with Benji Bohannon, who's on our brand new album. So we have a big collection of guys that play with us. So
And our fiddle player.
and yeah,
Sarah.
Sarah
Mhm.
Bond played
Mhm.
on the new album that's coming
Yeah.
out. She did some work. So
Yeah, we love Sarah. She's a treat to watch play live. So
Yeah, we're
glad to
really-
know she's still working with you guys.
Oh yeah.
yeah, we got a brand new one. This will be out in a few months with her that I'm super excited about.
That's great. So give us the backstory on how the band came to be.
I lived in Lexington. I moved there when I was 17 or 18, and just I fell in love with music up there, and came home. I got a show at the Dame, and I came home and told my grandfather about it. I was so excited to play the Dame. I thought I had made it, and he was talking about how hard you have to work in music, and there was a guy that worked for him building dams when he was young, and he just said. He said it was the hardest working man that he had ever known in his life. He was a deaf guy, and they called him Hollerhead. And he said, "Well, you're going to have to work harder than Hollerhead if you're going to make it in the music business." And I said, "Okay, challenge accepted. Hollerhead it is." And that's I just took the name from there up in Lexington, and stayed up there a little while and played with it, and then moved back home and formed a band, and here we are.
There you go.
Wow. So that gives us different kind of perspective then maybe on the name of the band, and I know we were gonna touch on that a little bit later, so I'll
Sure.
leave that right where it is. So your website and social channels, you know, refer to you as an alt country band, and your sound certainly conveys that to us. So, what influences along the path of your musical journey led you to produce music that fits so nicely into that genre?
Well, I don't know what to call it. I think that's why you see alt country is kind of, I find myself like, I don't know what this is. On the new album, there's songs with fiddles and banjos, and there's a couple songs that's 100% nothing but rock and roll. So I don't know where I was raised. Where my grandfather was a sound man. He worked for a university, so I was around Ricky Skaggs, a young. I was in my granddaddy did a show every year with Chet Atkins and Boots Randolph and Floyd Kramer. So I don't know, it's just always been there. And then I'm a '90s. I graduated in the '90s, so then you got the Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice
Oh,
in Chains.
yeah.
So I have all of it. I feel like is on this brand new album. Is just there's not one genre. So alt country,
Sure.
Americana, rock. I don't know what it is, and I love that because I think it opens the door for me to do anything that I want to do. And I think the new album, from the first song to the last song, is so different. So I'm really excited and proud of that. So don't know what the genre is, but we're just making music.
Well, it's good music, and I think Americana is a great, kind of broad label. A lot of stuff fits in that, and we talk a lot about that category of music for a number of different reasons on this show. It's kind of our primary focus because it encompasses so much, which
Mm,
is awesome. So I think you guys sort of, if you're in a bunch of genres, then you're right square in the Americana one, in
right.
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your songwriting and your songs a little bit. Your songs seem to be about kind of odds and ends, ups and downs of life, relationships, and so on. Would you say that's accurate? And where do the ideas for your songs come from? How do you build on them?
I don't know. I don't know how they come. Certainly, I think they're built on emotions, pretty much, and there's something that you tune into, and it kind of tells you when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it and what it's going to be like. And I think certainly the emotion we lost a lot for this record, particularly, "They're Never Gonna Leave You." We both had experienced a lot of loss, so the emotion I think led the words to wherever they come from and how they come. I don't know and I don't understand. You can be how it happens, but um, certainly from loss, and yeah, that's where that last album was from.
And when did you first start writing songs?
Oh man, probably 2000, probably somewhere around there. I up in Lexington when I moved up there. I left home, and the Linus and the Dame were huge. There used to be a Linus Club, not the pub, but I saw My Morning Jacket in that little room,
Yep.
tiny little room. I saw Derek Trucks in that tiny Linus Club,
Mm.
and not to count all the Sunday Valley shows that I watched, and uh, all the things. So it started somewhere around there. 2000, 2002 is when I probably around when I discovered Jim James and the very first At Dawn r- albums. I was blown away, and started. I got a 4-track, and then I started doing writing. So yeah, about 25, 26 years ago.
Wow.
Thanks, Jim James.
He's got a lot of people into it.
Right, and we're
Well,
big fans.
I don't know if you guys know Tennessee Fire and At Dawn, but to me, those albums, first two albums changed my life. They were like, you can do this at home, you can do this in a silo, you can do this in a barn. It wasn't you have to go down to Nashville to be an artist, and that me and some of my friends we caught on fire from that idea that I didn't know existed until him.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, in I want to change the subject a little bit about writing songs, and I want to hear some great music from you guys before we talk about a few more other things. So let's take a quick break so we can hear some more from Hollerhead. When we come back, we'll argue about hollers and heads and stuff. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
just not today. Oh, just not today. I was talking to some honeybee about, hey, I'm leaving town. See, they got the wrong circus. I'm the wrong clown.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That is Rivertown from Hollerhead. It's off the band's debut LP, Never Gonna Leave You, which came out in August of last year. Jeremy and Della Marshall from the band are with us today on the program. They've already hinted at a new album coming here in a few months, so we're super excited about that. Jeremy is the primary creative force behind the band. Della makes it all happen. She plays and sings and manages and drives, and she runs the joint. So, Jeremy and Della, tell us about Almo, Kentucky, and what about that place informs your music?
It's our little sanctuary.
Hmm.
I mean, really, we have no neighbors. We have a river behind our house. We have, what is it, 4 or 5 acres? A creek. We got the chickens. We got the whole deal. Like, it's our
A
little
studio
homestead.
on the property.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
it's
home studio.
Nice.
So it's our
there's
little
hundreds
haven.
of acres around
Yeah.
us that other people own that farm, and we just get to be. Yeah, we have. So yeah, we write and we do everything here. We
Yeah.
record. We right here on this little place. This is where a lot of this album was created.
A lot of the videos.
Sonically, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
we
Like
love
a,
Almo. Almo is probably, we are a 5-minute drive from a little city called Murray, so we can be in town super easy, but we get lost out here on the river, and then we're 15 minutes to LBL, if you guys haven't heard of that, Land Between the Lakes. So it's in thousands of acres that we go get lost in, and it's between the lake, Kentucky Lake and the Barkley Lake. So yeah, that's Almo. It's a quiet little town in far west Kentucky.
But
That's great.
we have a dollar store.
We have a
Do
dollar
you only,
store or
wait a
Dollar
minute,
General?
you only have one?
We only have one in Almo.
yeah, maybe one in
And then there's
Almo.
probably another one in Dexter, which is like the
Yeah.
town over.
Yeah. There's
Wow.
4.
So you guys are out in S.G. Goodman territory.
Right, right.
Yeah, she probably was, 5 minutes from me. Yeah.
Very
Well,
nice.
which is why I asked for clarification. Is it a dollar store or is it a Dollar General? Because we all know SG is the patron saint of the Dollar General. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyway, so take us back to when you first started to notice music or even play. Who was it that pointed you in the direction to be an artist?
There is no doubt that within 3 days of being home from the hospital and being born, I was sitting on my grandfather's lap while he played the piano. Every kid that was after an iPhone has that same video of them getting to sit in my grandfather's lap and bang on a piano as he played old ragtime and blues and boogie woogie, and so it's been in me since the earliest part of me is music.
I love that.
And all of my grandfather's children, 3 girls, and most of their children were. It's just what he passed on, music. He had a deep, deep love for music, and without him, and what my mom loved it, and she played guitar, and she taught me the first chords, and and she sang in church and drugged me to church. So
That's how it works.
the new song, we have a brand new song coming out May 8th, and that's the lyric. What is it?
Trying to breathe.
Trying to breathe.
Mhm. It's a mama song.
Yeah.
Oh,
May 8th. Wow.
So, Della, what about you? When did music become a thing for you?
I've always loved music, and I've always been a huge supporter of him way back in the day. We've been together for 18, 19 years. So when I first met him, I had never heard of Hollerhead. And I was kind of introduced to it. He was very modest even back then. When I met him, his best friend at the time, he was the one that kind of like built up Hollerhead and Jeremy, but Jeremy was really quiet, so we're very modest. Um, but so I was always a huge supporter of him because he's very talented. But it wasn't really until like last year. We kind of played around maybe about 2 years ago, kind of singing together just for fun. And then last year, it became more serious and I became more involved as far as stage production, singing and being in front of people. But I've always done like the merch and I've always done stuff behind the scenes as
Yeah.
much as I could. But I was always a full-time nurse. So,
Yes.
right.
Understood. Okay. Very good. All right. So we already kind of kicked the 800-pound gorilla in the nuts on this one, but take us back and retell us, because you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but tell us a little bit more of the background around the name of the band Hollerhead, because I think I popped off somewhere along the line on social media and kept saying there ain't no hollers or head hollers in Western Kentucky. I don't know where they got that name, but it ain't about hollers and heads hollers.
No.
So take us back and take us through that story one more time, because it sounds like we need to dig a little deeper.
My grandfather built dams in West Kentucky. He built the Barkley Dam, and he worked hard on that dam. And he said the hardest working man that he had ever met was a guy named Hollerhead. And Hollerhead was a deaf man. And my grandfather, when I told him about this show that I was going to be playing at the Dame, he was cautioning me, saying, if you're going to make it in the music business, you're going to work harder than Hollerhead did. And to him, that was a great feat, because Hollerhead was the hardest working man. And I'm telling you, my grandfather to me was every day. As soon as the sun was up, he's grinding. As soon as it went down, he was asleep so he could get up and work. So he was telling me, son, get ready if you're going to do this. And he was right. So, but that's where the name come from. Yeah.
Well, that's much better than what I first suspected, not knowing anything about you or the story. Because obviously, Hollerheads where I'm from are a little different. But
Yeah. I have almost bailed on this 1,000 times because of that. Because of a lot of people say that or think, oh, you're using Kentucky but I'm staying true to that for me, and for him. I wanted to bail on it a million times, but now I made a kind of a commitment 18 years ago that I would work as hard as this man that and so I'm gonna see it through. This is what I'm gonna do in this lifetime. I'm gonna push Hollerhead and see where it goes.
well, amen to that, because it's too good of a story to push it to the side, man. You gotta hold on to that one, man. That's just a great brand right there. That's a brand.
He was my
Absolutely.
hero. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, and we're happy to put the story out for you.
Yeah.
Like Jason and I discussed the name before, and I'm not from Kentucky. I'm from Chicago, nowhere near a holler. So, I didn't understand the meaning of Hollerhead as it relates to like Eastern Kentucky.
Right.
So but now hearing that story, it's kind of nice and like homage to your grandfather's buddy. So
Yeah.
anyway, you guys are booked for Laurel Cove, North Springs this year. So we talked to a lot of bands and artists who've gone through their first year or two on the road, playing to bigger festival audiences, but we don't always get a chance to talk to someone who's just about to go. So we know you're not new to the road or to festivals, but do you go into a situation, a festival like Laurel Cove, where there are a lot of artists, singers, songwriters, music industry people who are watching? Do you go into it with anything in mind other than just playing your songs?
Yeah. You see all this gray. I'm far too I'm too far for playing mini games. We go for the art, and we're gonna take the same show if we were playing at the brewery and 2 people were there. We're gonna play the exact same way and the same heart,
Energy.
the same energy. But I think that just means that we're prepared for it in a way that we're not gonna go because it's special and try to do anything we wouldn't do. They're all special. Anytime somebody invites you to come play your music and people are sitting and watching you, then every show is special. And if you treat every single one of them like that, it doesn't matter. Or sure, I mean, can I say that we're not going to be trying to be on our best? Of course, but we also try to do that everywhere we go.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it's not much pressure for us, honestly. I mean, just excitement
Sure.
is more the word. Like, we are excited that those people are going to be there. That some of my good friends that I've had the privilege of playing music with will be at that festival, and a lot of names will be there. So sure, super excited to play there. A lot of excitement to play there, but
Yeah.
no nerves. It's just what we do.
Well, if my pals who have seen you live are any indication, y'all are well on your way to bigger audiences and bigger gigs. We're excited as hell for you and hope
Thank you.
both of you blow the roof off the collective joints along the way. Jeremy and Della, tell folks where they can find the band, the music, the merch, the tour, and all that stuff on them there interwebs.
Hollerhead.net. Yes.
Hollerhead.net.
On
All of 'em.
Spotify, there's links. On bands in town.
You Google Hollerhead, you're going to find us.
Yeah. Look for something that pops up, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
There ain't many of the Hollerheads out there.
That's true. That's very true. Well, we'll have links to all those places in the show notes at rootsmusicrambler.com. The link to the episode specifically will be rootsmusic.link/Hollerhead. Go listen, stream, purchase, and see these guys live, y'all. Jeremy and Della, thanks again for hanging out with us. We're going to go out with the latest single from Hollerhead. It's actually a collaboration with another great singer-songwriter from Kentucky. It's Old Driveways, Hollerhead, and Lance Rogers. Folks, the Pick and the Grinning segment is next. Stick around. This is, he's Jeremy Marshall, and she's Della Marshall from Hollerhead, and this is Roots Music Rambler.
2, 3, 4. That old driveway, it's all that we got left. These damn tornadoes, they stole all the rest. My favorite porch swing and the prettiest maple. If you could cry, oh Lord, I wish you would.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. How about that Hollerhead? Now that we know what the story behind Hollerhead is, makes it a lot more interesting and a lot less offensive to me. Was never offensive, but
I know, but and I appreciate that that double meaning now, and it's a sweet story though. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and my rambling on this particular episode has been intense, and I probably went far too deep into the whole head of the holler thing earlier. Now, in retrospect, so I'm going to leave it all in there because it's probably good fodder for people to make fun of me around. But
Well, so like our tagline for the show is where there are people, there are music, and Roots Music Rambler is where culture, history, music, tradition intersect. And for someone who's from Kentucky, that would be the holler. And learning about where, like, the music that we love, right?
Yeah.
Learning where that music comes from and why, and then how, and then the stories behind even the names and the lyrics and stuff. That was my initial vision for Roots Music Rambler. So I certainly appreciate it. And if we ramble, we ramble. That's why God gave us fast forward buttons.
That's true. That's true. I just, this is one of those episodes where I think everybody's going to get to the end and go, God damn, Falls wouldn't shut up.
And let me tell you, he's going to go right to bed when we're finished recording.
Yes, I am. I am working on about 4.5 hours of sleep in the last 20 or so. So
no.
It's
Okay.
going to be an early bedtime for me tonight. So.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up then. Let's do our,
Okay.
let's give our picks.
It is time for the Pick and the Grinning segment here on the big program. This is the part of the show where Frank and I find artists, albums, songs, soundtracks, podcasts, whatever shit you listen to. And we pick out what's been making us grin this week. It's our way of recommending new music and things to you. So I am going to be a gentleman for the first time in a long time and let Frank go first. Frank, who's your
Oh,
Picking the grinning this week.
well, thanks. You are too kind. Let's see. Okay, so as I mentioned in the open, Jason and I are fresh off of our experience at Crossroads Music Festival in Seymour, Indiana, and this was my second year attending. Um, and it was just stellar again. You know, the talent and the music was just so good. And my favorite from the festival is my pick and the grinning for this week, which is not to say that not anyone else was at that same level, you know, but and I'll talk about it and you probably will understand why this artist is my favorite. So anyway, the artist that I'm referring to is Logan Mack, and he's from Oklahoma, singer-songwriter, um, gritty voice. And, you know, you mentioned Zach Bryan earlier, and when we were sitting there listening to him a couple of times, like I heard a little Zach Bryan. And I don't know if I just made that connection knowing that Zach Bryan's also from Oklahoma, or if it truly was the sound of the music. Not to say that Logan Mack is a mini Zach Bryan, because that's not true at all. All right. So, but his lyrics and his songwriting are so like relatable, everyday stuff. And just the like the heartaches that we experience as humans, loss, you know, struggling financially, missing your family, you know, stuff like that. So his lyrics just spoke to me, man. And then he busts out this one song, okay? And whoo boy. Okay, so he starts out before playing the song, he's like, "Yeah, I lost my dad in June of 2022." And I'm like, "Oh, I lost my dad in July of 2022. Where are we going with this, Mr. Mack?" You know? And, so then he goes on to tell a story about how he would see redbirds and think like, "Oh, it's my dad coming to visit." And I'm like, "Oh my god, we do the same thing." You know, like, we've got bird feeders all around our house and stuff, and even the kids, if they see a cardinal, they're like, "Oh, look, cardinal, it's Papa." Papa was my dad, you know? And, I mean, I could probably show you on my phone, like, how many pictures of cardinals I have that, you know, from the ones that have visited our yard and our feeders and stuff. And every time I see one, I'm like, "Hey, dad," you know? So he wrote this song called Redbird, and it's about his dad, and it's about when Logan sees a redbird, and he believes that it is his father coming to tell him that everything's going to be okay. And holy shnikes, I was a puddle. Okay, Jason was there; he can attest to it. I
Mhm.
was a puddle, like snot coming out of my nose and everything. So, just a gorgeous, gorgeous song. It does tug at the heartstrings. So then Logan Mack played another set the next day at Crossroads. And of course, I went, and he ended his set with Redbird. And when he started it, he didn't go into a story or anything, but I just had a feeling that he was going to play it. So I had my phone ready to record the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to make it through this time. I already heard the song. I know the story. Like, I'll be okay. I was not okay. Again, I was a blubbering mess. So, and since we've been back from Seymour, I have not been able to get the song out of my head. I wake up every morning with that song in my head. So that just means Logan Mack has to come on the show.
Okay. Well, we would love to have Logan Mack on the show. Now, to further illustrate the personality differences of your two hosts for Roots Music Rambler, she gravitates to Redbird by Logan Mack. He follows up Redbird the first night that we saw him with the only funny song or happy song that he says he's ever written. And that was called Damn It Diane, or Damn It Debbie. Damn It Debbie, which is about his drunk aunt. And so that was my favorite Logan Mack song, and why I connected to Logan Mack at the Crossroads Acoustic Fest. So yes, we definitely want him on the show.
And I missed pretty much the whole song because I had to excuse myself and go to the bathroom to clean myself up after crying from listening to Redbird. So
yeah, he told us a real funny story or two about his drunk Aunt Debbie. And Damn It, Debbie is the name of the song. You can listen to it on Spotify. It's awesome. The mixture of his kind of sad, heartfelt songs and then this Damn It, Debbie song.
Damn It, Debbie.
Reminded me a lot of Hayes Carl because he's got these like thick emotional things and then he's got these very playful songs as well.
That's
And
a
so
good comparison.
I
Yeah.
think as Logan mixes in a little bit more of the playful stuff to balance the fucking deeply emotional, sad shit that he writes about, I think he'll see a little bit more balance in that audience coming out to see him. But yeah, he was great. He was fantastic. And Frank's not lying, man. You had to mop her up or something. She was in bad shape. But that's what music will do to you.
Absolutely.
That's a good pick. Very good pick.
Thanks.
All right. So my pick in the grinning this week came to my attention because I keep an eye on the Americana music charts for this show, certainly, to discover new artists, which is I'm about to share one with you, and also for my radio program where I have to play some Americana Music Association singles and stuff like that, and make sure people know what the number one song for that week and all that shit is. So that's kind of one of those radio things you kind of do. So I'm browsing through the old Americana Music Association list of singles and albums and whatnot last week, and I come across a new entry toward kind of the bottom of the list from an artist by the name of Meals, Meels.
Okay.
And this is a young lady who singer-songwriter. She also, I think it's technically a band. She's got some band members in there. I don't think that's obviously her name, but I haven't done a whole lot of investigating into knowing all the facts of the band. But I do know that Meals right now has a song at or near the top 50 singles chart. It's called The Wizard. And the name of the EP that just came out for Meals is called Across the Raccoon Strait. And Meals, the young lady, I'm going to say it's the young lady Meals, the lead singer-songwriter. She has called her sound of music critter country. So I'm all in. Just based on that, I didn't have to listen to anything, but I did listen to and actually played The Wizard on my radio show last week, and it's a really good song. And she's got I think it's a 7 or 8 cut EP out there, the Across the Raccoon Strait, that's worth checking out. She's from California,
Okay.
which I immediately, being an Eastern Kentucky redneck hillbilly, hilljack, am skeptical. But I went and started playing the songs, and I'm like, okay, she's got some little Bakersfield, Southern California influences, but she's also got some really good Appalachian traditional country music influences in there. That critter country sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And so it's got that, I hate to use this word because it's not the right word, but when I hear a song that qualifies under something like critter country, it's like the North Mississippi All-Stars, I refer to the live playing as sloppy. It's not rounded and polished and shimmering and shining. It's, just the slide guitar and a little toy piano and, a banjo plucking in the background. And it's not perfect, right? But it sounds amazing.
Okay.
Her sound to me sounds sloppy in that regard. It's like her band is really good, but there's a lot of imperfection in there, but it all sounds beautiful together.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started listening to her stuff, I'm like, okay, yes, this is good. Got the same kind of vibe the first time I listened to North Mississippi All-Stars, the first time I listened to like Muscadine Bloodline, Jason Scott and the High Heat, one of my favorite breakout bands this year, is the same kind of way. They've got that kind of honky tonk kind of, half drunk while I'm playing sound, if you will. Meals, Meels. Check her out. She's worth a listen.
All
There you
right. Definitely.
go. All right. Well, those are some pretty good picks right there.
I'll say.
And if I'm about to make a really shitty analogy to close out the show.
Uh-oh.
Our picks are Logan Mack and Meals. I'm fucking hungry. Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2026. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next hoedown and throwdown. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.